Why did China crash the ruble right before Russia invaded Ukraine? Right before Russia invaded, China made their currency much more expensive against the ruble, as mentioned in this Atlantic Council article. As a result, it became much more expensive for Russia to buy Chinese goods. But it also made China's exports to Russia really expensive. So for China, it became a win-win. I thought Russia and China were supposed to be best friends. No. China is China's best friend and nobody else's. China saw an opportunity to make Russia completely dependent on them, and they took it. Russia is no longer allowed to use the dollar, so they're forced to use the Chinese yuan. And now their currency is the most traded one in Moscow. The Russian finance ministry increased the permitted share of yuan reserves in their national wealth fund to 60%. Trade between China and Russia has exceeded $200 billion. But there's a huge shortcoming in this for China. China is using Russia as a gas station and a resource depot. These are the top 12 Russian exports to China. And these are China's top 12 exports to Russia. That $200 billion trade between those two countries isn't even half of what China sells to the United States. So even though China can manipulate Russia however they want, it's not helping their economy. Their economy is still suffering tremendously, and their diminishing trade with the West is making it so much worse. Which is why back in October of 2023, President Xi Jinping said they are willing to cooperate with the US and manage their differences. However bad the relationship between China and the United States can be, China dislikes Russia more. Coming from the same article is a table of key historical sources of Chinese mistrust of Russia. There was the Sino-Soviet border conflict in 1968 to 1969. 72 were killed and 68 wounded on the Chinese side. Both sides threatened to use nuclear weapons. Look at these various treaties of Peking, Aigun, St. Petersburg, the Boxer Protocol, the Lobanov Treaty, the Convention for the Lease of the Liaotung Peninsula. All of these treaties led to China's loss of Western Manchuria. This is how China looks today. But it's missing that big piece on the west, which is very resource rich, and China wants it back. Remember that while China and Russia act like they're very friendly, they are two powerful countries and they're neighbors. There will always be competitive dynamics between these two countries. Here's what scares Russia. In 2018, 16% of Russia's total land used for agriculture was owned or leased by Chinese citizens. 2017 poll in the Russian Academy of Sciences found that more than 1 in 3 Russians view China's increasing presence as expansion. China has surpassed Russia as the bigger trade partner in all former Soviet states in Central Asia. Compare the GDP growth of these two countries. Red is China, blue is Russia. Russia has been beyond incompetent with their economic growth. 2020, 2% of China's trade was with Russia, while 18% of Russia's trade was with China. China spent $563 billion on science and technology innovation, while Russia only spent $40 billion. China doesn't look at Russia like a peer. They look at it like a lazy friend who's just useful for oil and natural resources. That's it. And the more Russia keeps looking like a weak neighbor to China, China just sees an opportunity to one day, maybe sooner than later, get their land back. I'm the Geo Husar. China is by far smarter than Russia, and they will never forget. Thanks for watching.